Baal, Baal or Baal. The Babylonian Belu, or Baal, Lord, was the title of the supreme god among the Canaanites. Name and character of Baal. In Babylonia, it was the title specially applied to Merodach of Babylon, which in time came to be used in place of his actual name. As the word in Hebrew also means possessor, it has been supposed to have originally signified, when used in a religious sense, the god of a particular piece of land or soil. Of this, however, there is no proof, and the sense of possessor is derived from that of Lord. The Babylonian Baal Merodach was a sun god, and so too was the Can Baal, whose full title was 𝗘𝗁𝗱𝗆, Lord of Heaven. The Phoenician writer 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗆𝗆, 𝗖𝘆𝗰𝗹𝗶𝗁𝗆𝗏, Fragmenta 2, accordingly says that the children of the first generation of mankind, in time of drought stretched forth their hands to heaven toward the sun, for they regarded him as the sole Lord of heaven, and called him 𝗘𝗆𝗁, which means Lord of Heaven in the Phoenician language, and is equivalent to Zeus in Greek. 𝗘𝗆𝗁𝗆𝗆 had a temple at 𝗚𝗏𝗏 between Oka and Tyre, and his name is found in inscriptions from the Phoenician colonies of Sardinia and Carthage. Attributes of Baal. As the sun god, Baal was worshipped under two aspects, beneficent and destructive. On the one hand, he gave light and warmth to his worshippers. On the other hand, the fierce heats of summer destroyed the vegetation he had himself brought into being. Hence, human victims were sacrificed to him, to appease his anger, in time of plague or other trouble. The victim being usually the firstborn of the sacrificer, and being burnt alive. In the Old Testament this is euphemistically termed, passing the victim through the fire, 2 Kings 16:3, 21:6. The forms under which Baal was worshipped were necessarily as numerous as the communities which worshipped him. Each locality had its own Baal, or divine lord, who frequently took his name from the city or place to which he belonged. Hence, there was a 𝗏𝗚l𝗥, Baal of Tyre, 𝗏𝗏-Hermon, Baal of Hermon, Judges 3:3 Baal Lebanon, Baal of Lebanon, Baal-Tars, Baal of Tarsis. At other times the title was attached to the name of an individual god. Thus we have Baal Merodach, the Lord Merodach, or Baalis Merodach, at Babylon, Baal Melkarth at Tyre, Baal Gad, Joshua 11:17, in the north of Palestine. Occasionally the second element was known as in 𝗘𝗁𝗱𝗆, Lord of Heaven, Beelzebub, 2 Kings 1:2, Lord of Flies, Baal-Hamon, usually interpreted Lord of Heat, but more probably Lord of the Sun Pillar, the tutelary deity of Carthage. All these various forms of the sun god were collectively known as the Baalim or Baals, who took their place by the side of the female Ashtaroth and Astrum. At Carthage the female consort of Baal was termed Pin-Baal, the face or reflection of Baal, Baal worship. In the earlier days of Hebrew history, the title Baal, or Lord, was applied to the national god of Israel, a usage which was revived in later times, and is familiar to us in the King James Version. Hence both Jonathan and David had sons called Merib-Baal, 1 Chronicles 8:31-940, and Beliada, 1 Chronicles 14:7. After the time of Ahab, however, the name became associated with the worship and rites of the Phoenician deity introduced into Samaria by Jezebel, and its idolatrous associations accordingly caused it to fall into disrepute. Hosea, 1 Chronicles 16, declares that henceforth the God of Israel should no longer be called Baali, my Baal, and personal names like Eshbaal, 1 Chronicles 8:33-939, and Belinda into which it entered were changed in form, Baal being turned into Bosheth, which in Heb at any rate conveyed the sense of shame. Temples, etc. Temples of Baal at Samaria and Jerusalem are mentioned in 1 Kings 1:18, where they had been erected at the time when the Ahab dynasty endeavored to fuse Israelites and Jews and Phoenicians into a single people under the same national Phoenician god. Altars on which incense was burned to Baal were set up in all the streets of Jerusalem, according to Jeremiah, 1 Kings 11:13, apparently on the flat roofs of the houses, Jeremiah 30-29, and the temple of Baal contained an image of the god in the shape of a pillar, or Bethel. 2 Kings 10:26-27. In the reign of Ahab, Baal was served in Israel by 450 priests, 1 Kings 18:19, as well as by prophets, 2 Kings 10:19, and his worshippers wore special vestments when his ritual was performed, 2 Kings 10:22. The ordinary offering made to the god consisted of incense, Jeremiah 7:9, and burnt sacrifices. On extraordinary occasions, the victim was human, Jeremiah 1:9-5. At times the priests worked themselves into a state of ecstasy, and dancing round the altar slashed themselves with knives, 1 Kings 18:26-28. Like certain dervish orders in modern Islam, use of the name. In accordance with its signification, the name of Baal is generally used with the definite art. In the Septuagint, this often takes the feminine form, 𝗧𝗍𝗱𝗁 being intended to be read. We find the same usage in Romans 11:4. The feminine counterpart of Baal was Boa, or Bolith, which is found in a good many of the local names. See Bathgen. Beltridge the Semitician Religionsgeschichte, 1888. Forms of Baal. 1. Baal-berith, 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 Covenant Baal, was worshipped at Shechem after the death of Gideon. Judges 8:33, 9:4. In Judges 9:46, the name is replaced by El-berith, covenant god. The covenant was that made by the god with his worshippers, less probably between the Israelites and the native Canaanites. 2. Baal-gad, 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 Balagada, Baal, Lord of good luck, or Baal-is-gad, was the god of a town called after his name in the north of Palestine, which has often been identified with Baalbek. The god is termed simply Gad, in Isaiah 65:11, the Revised Version, margin, where he is associated with many, the Assyrian Manu, King James Version. Troop and number. 3. Baal-hamon, Baal-hamon, Baal-hamon. Baal-hamon is known only from the fact that Solomon had a garden at a place of that name. Song of Solomon 8:11. The name is usually explained to mean Baal of the multitude, but the cuneiform tablets of the Tel El-Amarna age, found in Palestine, show that the Egyptian god Amun was worshipped in Canaan and identified there with the native Baal. We are therefore justified in reading the name Baal-hamon, a parallel to the Babylonian Baal-Merodach. The name has no connection with that of the Carthaginian deity Baal-hamon. 4. Baal-hermon, Baal-hermon, Baal-chermon. Baal-hermon is found in the name of the mountain of Baal-hermon, Judges 3:3. Compare 1 Chronicles 5:23, which also bore the names of Hermort, Syrian, and Shanir. Saniru in the Assyrian inscriptions, the second name being applied to it by the Phoenicians, and the third by the Amorites. Deuteronomy 3:9. Baal-hermon will consequently be a formation similar to Baal-Lebanon in an inscription from Cyprus. According to the Phoenician writer Sonchiniathan, 𝗼𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗁 begat sons of surprising size and stature, whose names were given to the mountains of which they had obtained possession. 5. Baal-peor, Baal-peor, Baal-peor. 𝗼𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆𝗆 23:28. The modern 𝗲, and was probably a form of chemosh. Jerome, Commentary, Isaiah 15:1-9, the sensual rites with which he was worshipped. Numbers 25:1-3. Indicate his connection with the Phoenician Baal. 6. 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗏𝗏, 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗏𝗏𝗏, Baal the fly god, was worshipped at Ekron, where he had famous oracle. To Kings 1:2-3. 16. The name is generally translated, the Lord of Flies, the sun god being associated with the flies which swarm in Palestine during the earlier summer months. It is met with in Assyrian inscriptions. In the New Testament, the name assumes the form of Beelzebul, Beelzebul, in King James Version, Beelzebub.